She's played queens, warriors, and everything in between. But long before Helen Mirren became one of the most respected names in the acting world, she was stirring up serious buzz with roles that shocked, challenged, and changed the way people saw female leads in cinema. Elegant, fearless, and always in control, Mirren didn't build her career by playing it safe. In fact, it was her early, edgy choices that set her apart and made her unforgettable. Back in 1969, at just 24 years old, Helen Mirren took on a role in Age of Consent that raised eyebrows and set the tone for her career. She played Cora, a free-spirited island girl who becomes the muse for a reclusive painter. It could have been a throwaway part, just another pretty face on screen. But Mirren brought something more. Her performance wasn't just about youth and beauty, it had layers. She turned Cora into a smart, independent young woman who knew what she wanted. Even then, you could tell Mirren wasn't just acting. She was sending a message. She wouldn't be boxed in. Just a few years later, in 1972, Mirren showed an even bolder side in Savage Messiah, a wild, emotional film about a rebellious sculptor. This wasn't your average drama. It was loud, raw, and filled with intense performances. And right in the middle of that chaos, Mirren held her ground. She wasn't just there to be looked at. She was fierce, fiery, and full of energy. There was power in the way she carried herself, even when everything around her seemed out of control. It was clear she wasn't interested in safe roles. She wanted to be remembered. In 1973, she appeared in Oh, Lucky Man, a film that mixed comedy, politics, and satire in a way that confused a lot of people, but Mirren still stood out. Her role as Patricia was brief, but unforgettable. She added a strange beauty to a film that was constantly shifting in tone. One minute it was funny, the next it was serious, but no matter what was happening, your eyes were on her. It was becoming obvious that Helen Mirren had a rare gift. She could be the calm in the storm, or the storm itself, depending on what the scene needed. Then came 1979 and Caligula. This film wasn't just shocking, it was flat-out scandalous. What started as a historical drama turned into something much more controversial when the producers added graphic scenes after the cast had finished shooting. Most actors would have run from it. But Mirren didn't flinch. She played Caesonia, the bold wife of the Roman emperor, with total confidence. Even in the middle of chaos, she owned the screen. While others tried to distance themselves from the project, Mirren walked away with her head held high. It was one of the most talked-about performances of the decade, not because of the scandal, but because she never let the madness overshadow her talent. By the time the 1980s rolled in, Mirren was still choosing roles that made people stop and pay attention. In Hussy, she played a nightclub hostess stuck in a messy and dangerous relationship. It wasn't glamorous, and it definitely wasn't safe. But Mirren gave the character a raw, emotional honesty. She made her feel real, like someone you might meet in the real world. She didn't try to make the role comfortable or easy. She leaned into the pain, the risk, and the vulnerability. And it worked. Then, in 1989, Mirren stunned audiences once again in The Cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. This film was bold, artistic, and sometimes hard to watch. She played the wife of a violent, abusive man, trapped in a world of cruelty and control. But instead of staying quiet, she found her own kind of rebellion. Mirren's performance was electric, angry, graceful, and full of emotion. She didn't just act the part, she lived it. Her character wasn't a victim, she was a survivor, fighting back in the only ways she could. It was powerful, disturbing, and unforgettable. What makes Helen Mirren's early work so remarkable isn't just how daring the roles were, but how she handled them. She never let the camera control her. She controlled it. Whether she was playing a muse, a mistress, or a fighter, she always brought something unexpected. A flicker in her eyes, a shift in her voice. These tiny choices made her performances feel real and alive. She could be sensual without being soft, powerful without being loud. She made people uncomfortable in the best way by challenging what they thought a leading lady should be. Before she wore crowns and commanded palaces on screen, Helen Mirren was shaking up the film world with characters that pushed limits and refused to fit the mold. She didn't wait for permission. She chose roles that spoke to her, even when they were risky. And those risks paid off. Today, she's known around the world as a legend. But if you look back at those early performances, you'll see where that legend was truly born, not in ballrooms or castles, but in gritty, unforgettable moments that made people stop and pay attention. If this peek into Helen Mirren's most shocking early roles surprised you, tell us what you think in the comments. Which performance stood out the most to you? And if you want more stories like this about Hollywood's boldest stars, hit that subscribe button and stick around for what's coming next.